Next time they shine your light in the sky, don't go to it. The bat is dead. Bury it.
Tell me. Do you bleed? You will.
Lend me your ears once again. These words will hit like a whirlwind. I've gathered my chips, now I'm cashing in. How come we can't find the passion inside ourselves to be who we're meant to be and reach out to people?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros Comic Cast. I'm your host, ResidentDarrell, and I'm back with another review. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start this episode off with a toast in typical Loot Bros fashion. We want to give a shout out and a toast to our Patreon producers. For the month of August, we've got MZ Nitro, my name is effing Mayo, and we have Sadik, the king of the Xbox Achievement Leaderboards. So there you go. Thank you guys for all your support, and thank you to all the patrons. Speaking of Patreon, you can get involved in Patreon for as little as $1. If you're hearing this, you get early access. So all Comic Cast episodes, anything that ResidentDarrell does separate from the actual Loot Bros podcast main show comes to the Patreon first. And then in roughly 3 days, I'll drop them to their regular feeds. And that way you guys don't have to follow a bunch of different feeds. I give you everything extra as a perk of being part of the Patreon. So something else you get is a perk of being part of the Patreon. Let's say you're listening to this on the Loot Bros Comic Cast feed and you're like, hey, I'm into the comic stuff. I like video games. There's some crossover there. We do it's not necessarily a monthly, it's not really a quarterly, but we do what we call the Loot Bros Game Club. So now what we're doing is we're voting as a Patreon community on games to play as a community with the Loot Bros podcast. And we're getting ready to do our first review episode on Dead Space. So if you want to vote on the next game, go to the Patreon. You can subscribe for as little as $1 and you get voting rights to vote on the next game for the Loot Bros Community Game Club. So it looks like we're a tie right now between Gears of War and Ghost of Tsushima. And there's 8 other games on there as well. And what we'll do is each and every game club list, we'll put different games on there. And these games can all be found on the various PS Plus, Games with Gold, Game Pass, Epic Games, the various subscriptions. So we want to put a list of games out there that we can vote on that the majority of the community will have access to play. So if you want to do something like that with the comic books, write into the show, the Loot Bros Comic Cast at gmail.com, go to the Facebook, go to the Discord and say, hey, I want to do that with comic books as well. And we can do a Loot Bros Community Book Club. So, but like I said, getting on the Patreon, you get everything early. You get all kinds of perks, and I've got some very special things lined up for you guys coming out very soon. Things are in the works. We're bringing on a partner, a sponsor / partner on board, and I'm very, very excited about it. I think it's gonna be great. Also, don't forget to check out Legacy Comics. One of the Comic Cast co-hosts, Josh Adams, he is pumping out some books over there, man. They just announced Dim Goals, which is going to be a New Jersey boardwalk kind of comedic comic book, a little bit of a tongue twister. And they have it's gonna be really cool stuff, man. Josh is doing the lettering for The Job, which is like a wrestling book meets Heat. It's like a heist / wrestling book. And then of course he's got the Apollyon 20XX. Godfoe universe, all that good stuff. So there's tons and tons of stuff. We at the Loot Bros podcast platform, we are busy. We are always doing stuff. You can also check out my band Ninja Loot, RPD, Exit Humanity, all the different musical projects I'm a part of. And I am talking with some musicians right now about pumping out some new music very soon. So I think that's all the business. So let's get into the review and continuing our series where we reach into our long box and we jump into some of these villain takeover comics from the New 52. I've come across another one that I'm just not very familiar with. This one is Justice League of America, The Shadow Thief #1. This is issue 7.3. again, continuing with these really awesome 3D holographic covers. This one's pretty neat. So kind of starting off just at first glance, I have no background at all with Shadow Thief. Just like with Killer Frost, I had very little background with her. Seen her in some animated films. Maybe she's a sub-C class character in a book or two. Definitely did not have much background or real crossover with this particular character. But now, coming up with the Shadow Thief, I have even less. So again, this has been pretty exciting to go through because I'm not 100% sure, who or what some of these villains are. So this has been a bit of a history lesson for me, and it's been pretty interesting. So with this particular book, we are looking at the Shadow Thief. And then I did a quick Google search on who is the Shadow Thief in DC Comics. And apparently there's been more than one of which was a guy named Carl Sands. Now, I'm not going to do a ton of diving into that currently because this particular version or villain that we're looking at is Aviva Matula. So we're not... Apparently, Carl Sands has been the Shadow Thief since 2011 to present. And then in this particular one-shot, this particular book, it is Aviva Matula. So either way, just kind of jumping into, we'll start cover, and we'll cover all the normal things that we talk about here on the Comic Cast. And first, I'm going to give credit to the writer and to the artist and stuff. So it's written by Tom DeFalco. And then Chad Harden is the artist. And then Chris Sotomayor is the colorist. And then we'll go Taylor Esposito as the letterer. So the cover is pretty awesome. Again, I'm really digging these 3D holographic looking covers. I would say it's describing the character model. It's if you take Raven, like from the Teen Titans, not Teen Titans Go, but actual Raven, as an adult Teen Titans. So I guess teen and adult don't really go together, but you kind of know what I'm getting at. Then you cover her in some cross between Bayonetta's hair and the Batman Who Laughs, like Shadow King nightmare form. That is essentially what you have here. Maybe if Carnage was just completely black and dark. So essentially, Aviva is a spy, and she's doing spy stuff, and then she gets thrown out of a building. So then it kind of tells the story, like, gives you the present day. Here's what's happening. You're probably wondering how I got thrown out of this building. And then it goes from there into kind of how she gets to that point. But it doesn't actually explain to you how she got the shadow skin. Now, as I did, like I said, my quick Google search, it's referred to as a shadow vest. And there's even a scene where she actually puts the shadow vest / skin on like a suit. So I'm not really 100% sure on what the details are, but essentially all black with, Carnage style claws and these just this almost symbiote looking skin, Venom / Carnage looking skin, but with a, bit of a mask cutout or whatever. So just kind of a brief overview of the story. She's going around, she's doing spy stuff. It's kind of telling the story as her perspective of a spy, and it's kind of like a by the numbers what's going on. But then she breaks the rules and she finds this biohazard container, and inside this biohazard container is some sort of virus. All right, now a quick pin in that. Before the virus is introduced, there's like when she's in her little shadow form, she's fighting aliens. She's fighting these Hawkman style guys called the Thamagardians or something like that. And there's a lot of extraterrestrial stuff going on in the planet, a little bit of chaos in the streets. So even though it says she's on Earth Prime, it doesn't necessarily in this book seem like what we would consider Earth Prime. That being said, she kills a bunch of aliens, and the art's pretty good. It's very clean art. Like you can definitely tell if you think back to Image Comics in the 90s, how everything had that Jim Lee style. There was a style to it. this new 52 has a style. It's very clean, very colorful. It's good art, but it's just not overly detailed. But the aliens look cool, and I guess the interiors of the book are pretty decent. Like I'm not. There's lots of cityscapes and lots of things as she's going through windows and falling from buildings and stuff, but none of it really stands out as like has any real personality. Like it's not like a Gotham City, things of that nature. As a matter of fact, she spends a good bit of time in Dubai, and I don't think they really showcase Dubai the way they could. That being said, so as she's doing her, in the shadow suit, she's fighting aliens and killing these demonic-looking creatures. When she rips the shadow skin off so you can see her face, then she's got her little trench coat on doing spy stuff, and then from there, she kind of at one point in time she takes the skin off and folds it up and puts it in a briefcase like an outfit. I don't understand, like it doesn't really give you like a ton to work with on that one. It's like, wait a second, one frame she's ripping it off of her face like skin and says that it's hard to take this thing off, and then the other couple frames later it's like, oh wait, there's this thing happening and I need to put my outfit on like Spider-Man. So I don't know if that's an inconsistency or just the ability, once I rip it off my body like actual skin, then I can fold it up like a t-shirt and put it in a briefcase. I don't know. That being said, she breaks the rules and she takes the biohazard container to a scientific facility, because everyone in comic books either is or knows a scientist. Now, I don't know how many of you guys that are listening to the show, and you're like, yeah, anytime I uncover something weird, I just take it to my scientist friends and they do these free analysis on them. If you go to the, like today, for example, we're going to be going to the doctor. I've got a couple kids with a cold, possibly strep throat. My doctor friend is going to charge me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars after insurance to run tests on them and then to give them antibiotics. So I really wish that I lived in the DC and Marvel universe where I just either was a scientist or just knew a scientist. And I was like, oh, I can just run a test real fast. No big deal. So she gets this biohazard container. She takes it to her, go figure, her scientist family. And they crack it open. It unleashes some kind of virus and it melts their skin all the way down to the bone and all this stuff. And it kills them. And so I didn't mention earlier, but also the Shadow Thief has teleportation powers. So she's teleporting back to Dubai, I'm assuming. And she confronts this guy that she stole the virus from, who then opens his mouth and this demon-looking alien creature rips out of it. And then she kills him. So essentially, she works her way back to the first page where she's being thrown out of a window. She meets one of her exes and they have a bit of a correspondence, but essentially she gets shot out of a window rather. And then she comes back as the Shadow Thief and then kills everybody in the room. Doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't really do much for me. It does kind of showcase some of the powers that the Shadow Thief has. Unlike Killer Frost, it doesn't really tell me who the Shadow Thief is. And if I was going to pick up reading this particular series, I don't know that it really says or does anything to move the series forward. Now, as a one-shot, is it a cool little story? Sure. If I picked up this book, if this was my first comic book, would I actually go, oh man, I really need more Shadow Thief in my life? Nah, not really. Now, her character design is really cool. Her outfit is cool. And again, some cross between skin and outfit is neat. I would like to know more. And the fact that she just cuts arms off and cuts heads off and it's got some gore factor to it. I would love to know how that works in a Batman universe, in the, if you think about it like this, if she's the Shadow Thief and she can teleport, how does Batman take on a foe who is a shadow, who moves in the shadows when that's kind of how he does his business? And then also can turn her arm into a giant shadow machete and cut arms and limbs and slit throats and stuff. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see how a character like this works in the DC universe. And just from this particular book, she has teleportation powers. She has she can manifest these weapons. She's got these crazy claws. Like, why is this not one of the biggest villains in the DC universe? Why is it, as a lifetime comic book fan, this is the first book I've ever read with this character? Why is it that until I Googled this particular character right before I started recording that I didn't even know there was another one? And it looks like they've been part of the Injustice Gang and the Injustice League and the Secret Society of Supervillains. So, I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I will do a little investigating to see more about the Shadow King. It does look, Shadow Thief, rather. It does look like they're on Earth 3, Earth 9, Earth 898, and then in a Scooby-Doo team up. There's a bit of a crossover. So it seems like maybe this Shadow Thief is a bigger deal in other, in other universes. So it's very interesting. Very interesting. So, but again, that's Carl Sands, or Sanders. Is it Carl Sanders? Carl Sands? Sanders is probably the chicken guy. Colonel Sanders. Final answer. But Aviva, it doesn't really say much. Yes, it does say primer. So I said I wasn't going to sit there and Google it and go through everything, but here I am. So let's see her powers. She has a infiltration suit. So it is a shadow suit that attaches itself to her skin. Okay. She has metamorphosis powers. The Shadow Thief can transform her limbs into weapons and create tentacles. Hey, anime fans, that's for you. Intangibility. The Shadow Thief's skin is like a living shadow. She cannot be harmed, and she doesn't feel physical pain. However, this intangibility does not appear to extend to the Red Lantern blood plasma. So maybe she can get hurt by Red Lanterns? Teleportation. She can teleport through the Shadow Realm. Okay. Her abilities. She has the abilities of interrogation. She's a trained spy. She has stealth because she's a spy. Irrational hatred. She hates the red power ring. So, maybe her true weakness is just the Red Lanterns. Interesting. So she essentially can't feel pain either, as long as she's wearing her suit. And she did mention something about the longer the suit's on, the kind of worse it is. So I don't know. It's very interesting. There's a lot going on here with this Shadow Thief. So Aviva Metula. I don't know. Maybe you guys can dig into it. Maybe you liked it. Maybe you guys are into the Shadow Thief. I don't know. Maybe all you anime fans, this was your way in. Maybe you're like, oh man, I'm all about the animes, but then I'm not really a comic book person. Well, you got a tentacle suit lady. So there you go. All right. This has been the Loot Bros Comic Cast. This is another one part of our review series. Digging into the long box, grabbing books out. I grabbed a stack. We are going to be jumping. The next episode is going to be Decide, number 1 from Earth 2. So this is going to be Earth 2, issue 15.1. We're going to jump into Decide. So that's going to be exciting. The cover is phenomenal. It is very cool. Hope you guys really dig it. I hope you like what I'm doing here. I hope I'm not wasting my time. I hope you guys are entertained. I hope the Loot Bros podcast, Loot Bros Patreon, and Loot Bros Comic Cast fans are all digging this. So would love some feedback. Shoot some reviews. Let me know if there's something out there you want me to cover. All right, this is it. We'll be back with another review very soon.
Countdown on the clock again. Feel like I'm playing in a game that I can never win. Time is running out, I know I gotta make a choice. So many whispers in my ear that I can't hear my voice. Tell me, will it end the situation that I'm in? Or am I bound to sit alone, drowning in my sin? Get right or get left, what will it be? Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets. People need to know we're living in a war zone. Hit the streets with the truth, tell them that it's on. Get right or get left, what will it be? Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets. People need to know we're living in a war zone. Hit the streets with the truth, tell them that it's on. So many people that I talk to know the truth. Do what they want to do and really never follow through. Follow you, yeah, see something but false idols. Pedestals are tearing down, I don't need a title. Just give me grace, free love and nothing but truth. Toss out the lies, all the bull hiding in the skies. Lost time is something we can never get back. Pay no attention to opinions, only want the facts. Get right or get left, what will it be? Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets. People broken world. Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets. People need to know we're living in a war zone. Hit the streets with the truth, tell them that it's on. Get right or get left, what will it be? Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets. People need to know we're living in a war zone. Hit the streets with the truth, tell them